January 20th, a big day in the world, a big day in pro wrestling, another Wednesday night war between AEW Dynamite and NXT. This is your Wrestling Inc. podcast where we're going to bring it all to you, all the good review, all the good opinions, and of course, we hope you chime in as well through the comments and super chats. I'm your host, Justin LaBar, being joined by my other co-host. Well, he's going to take the second show we talk about. He is Alfred Konuwa. You can find him on Twitter at @ThisIsNasty. You can read him on Forbes.com. Alfred, how are you doing?
Great to be here.
And Matt Morgan, he is scheduled to be here. He is just, he's still in Gorilla. The music hasn't hit yet. It's not his time to make it out to the ring. So Matt will jump in here sooner than later, we hope. But we're not going to waste any time because we already had an overrun of NXT. So we're already a little behind the 8 ball. So let's jump into AEW as we normally set to do. And they did advertise one of the things that they were going to have featured. And this was celebrating Negative One's birthday. Of course, the oldest son of the late Brody Lee. And that's what they kicked off with. He's out there on the shoulders of the Dark Order, and they got birthday cake, and they're ready to celebrate, only to be interrupted by who their opponents are going to be, which is at first it's half their opponents. It is the Chaos Project, and Luther just saying, "I'm going to ruin your birthday," and all this kind of stuff. Anyways, fight ends up breaking out between Dark Order and Chaos Project. Here comes TH2, the other component in this match, and we're kicking it off with an 8-man tag of Dark Order up against Chaos Project and TH2. And this match, I guess I'll just say a typical 8-man tag in AEW. A lot of moving parts, a very good finish. A Dark Order with Hangman Page, I should mention, and a very good finish with Hangman's finisher, then tying into a German suplex roll-up with one of the other Dark Order members. And Dark Order gets the victory. And then after the fact, they managed to hold on to one half of the Chaos Project, Luther's partner, and right there we see him getting held back on the stage, and little Brody coming up, Negative One coming up, and takes a kendo stick and just whacks him over the head, and that's how we end that segment. So overall, very good, fun loving. I mean, Negative One's the most over in AEW.
Yeah, he is, and it was a feel-good segment, and it also tied into storyline. Like when I saw the advertisement of Negative One's birthday celebration, I expected like a campy celebration. They were going to give him cake and do whatever, but they did that. But then they immediately spun it into the Hangman Adam Page joining the Dark Order, and I really thought that they tied all of this together. I like this as opening segment. I really, really liked after the match when they asked Hangman Adam Page to join the Dark Order. And he says, "No, guys, I can't." And they immediately set off all these streamers and purple confetti. And on the Titantron, it said, "He said yes." It was really
shirtless
fun.
Cowboys come prancing out of the tunnel, and they have to rush them back.
The best part was them rushing him up, like, "Get out of here, get out of here." He said, "No."
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. I mean, this, look, I don't remember if it was on this episode or if we're somewhere here in the Wrestling Inc. Podcast universe. I think it was this one. We talked about, obviously Brody's passing is tragic, but in a weird way, what a difference a year makes for the Dark Order. This kind of baby faces them. At least it did, obviously, in that tribute show. But now, based upon the booking here of them going up against heel groups that they just did, that came out of the babyface tunnel. AEW has that separated, so they're clearly we're moving full speed ahead with them being one of the more popular babyface acts.
Yeah, and I was thinking like Adam Hangman Page is kind of backed into a corner because he kind of has to say yes given the circumstances. But they did do this in a way that didn't really make him seem like a heel. There is kind of still a question of whether or not he may join down the road because this wasn't an emphatic no. It was just him saying, I've been burned in the past. So there's going to be a courtship process. I do expect him to eventually join the Dark Order, but I thought this was well done.
Yeah. And let me toss something out there real quick. Nick Hausman and I were talking about this on the Wrestling Inc. Daily. Talking about Eric Rowan or Eric Redbeard. He's come up several times. He's come up as Tony Schiavone, I think, said in a quote last week, as far as they know, he's not signed to AEW, but anything could happen. Rowan also popped up, I think, on a WWE tribute. I think it was a New Day podcast. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't. I don't think it would be. I don't think it would come off as cheesy to the fans or a cheap whatever. I actually think that if they did want to bring Rowan in and make him like Brody Lee's successor, just because they were friends and had a relationship, and he made him the new, not the new Exalted One, but just the new leader. I think sometimes fans would react cringeworthy to that, but something about how this all feels, I feel like fans would almost take it as like just another way of honoring Brody Lee.
Oh, of course. And I really would like to see Eric Rowan involved in some capacity. I mean, I really do think that he was a talent that was very unique. He's, a huge guy. He has a great look. I thought that he was fine in the ring. And I would like to see him maybe not do the exact same thing that Brody Lee was doing, but at least have some kind of real estate in the Dark Order. It would fit like a glove.
Yeah, not do the same thing. I'm not saying calling the Exalted One
Right.
or even the Exalted One 2.0. That sounds cheesy.
Right.
But if he just, once this babyface run right now, and this, still paying tribute to Brody right now ends, and maybe they get back to their roots to where they're trying to, refine themselves again. If they needed to find a new leader, that would be an interesting way to add it.
Matt Morgan is in the building.
Matt Morgan is in the building.
What's up, guys? How are you?
We're good, Matt. You didn't miss much. We were just talking about the Dark Order, and they are clearly baby faces now.
Yes, they clearly are. They should be. John Silver especially. Yeah,
clearly baby faces. Everything from the way they are booked, the heels they went against, coming out the babyface tunnel. So what a difference a year makes. All right, so we see a backstage with Alex Marvez talking to MJF and Jericho. Of course, the main event tonight is the three-way tag team of the Inner Circle, trying to figure out who's going to be the official tag team. So we get a little hype to that. But up next, it's Sting. Sting wants to come out, and he's going to congratulate. What's up?
Real quick, son's been irking the shit out of me. Excuse my language. Why? I'm the biggest Monday Nitro mark in the universe. All these wrestlers my age completely did the whole revisionist history like the WWE Network does, and a lot of the former Attitude Era wrestlers have done since, by acting like WWE was the place where every main talent wanted to go. Bullshit. WCW was a big deal. And along with that revisionist history, okay, what am I missing with, I don't ever recall Tony screaming, "It's Sting." I don't remember that. And I watched every Nitro you could possibly think of. Do you remember? Like every week now they're kind of like do this phony setup when Sting comes out, and like we got to hear, Tony screaming, "It's Sting." And it's supposed to be like this replay nostalgia thing that I don't remember. I don't remember him doing this.
The chat room where Alfred might, I believe it's twofold. I believe one, somewhere in the Crow days of Sting, when Sting finally appeared to help save WCW because it wasn't, we didn't know which side he was on. I feel like there was a classic "It's Sting" call.
Mm-hmm.
So am I missing? But maybe I'm missing the tone of it. Like I don't remember this. Like I just don't. As some iconic call, and I remember everything, including Bobby Heenan fucking up Hulk Hogan joining the NWO. I remember.
Whose side is he on? What do you mean his side is he on? Yeah, I think it's part. I think there was that call and a pivotal moment in the WCW NWO storyline, and I also think there's some kind of charm associated because Tony Schiavone called Sting all the way back since Sting was, since the late 80s. But Tony Khan apparently gave the explicit instruction that night that Sting was going to debut. He said nobody else gets, Tony Schiavone gets the first call when Sting comes out.
And to his credit, when he showed up, I got nostalgic just because Tony Schiavone is calling Sting. I don't remember a specific "this is Sting" call, but I do remember Schiavone freaking out when Sting would arrive and beat up all the heels in NWO.
Yeah,
would freak out, but I guess it's Sting. They just needed some catchy line to mark it.
Oh, okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Tony Schiavone's trying to get that Pro Wrestling Tees shirt. That Pro Wrestling Tees money. It's Sting. Speaking of shirts and Sting comes out wearing the Brody Lee tribute shirt. So I thought that's very cool because obviously that's a huge that shirt's already been selling great, and obviously the proceeds are going to Brody's family. But I mean, Sting's a huge deal. So if he wears something out there, that's going to be some clicks for buying a shirt. So pretty cool of him to do that. When he could have been hawking his own shirt. But he comes out and and then we bring out Darby Allin. And Sting says, I look at you and there's something about you that reminds me something of me. And I just want to be the first one to congratulate you publicly on being TNT champion. Mind you, he's been like TNT champion for a couple months.
Made. As soon as he said that sentence, that's all I've been waiting for Sting to do since he's got here. It's about time. And Darby Allin is now officially made.
Yeah, so he says that, and then we get into the real business, which is Taz and Team Taz appear on the video screen, breaking up this little love fest. And Taz talking about, you guys play dirty. We've been gentlemen. You guys beating us with bats and blah, 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 blah. But I'm from the streets. I'm from the streets if you look me up. And then, they all start talking about how bad they're from the streets. Basically, let's take our fight to the streets. Darby says, be careful what you wish for. You might get it. My first thought, gentlemen, Matt, I think we're heading towards a cinematic match, right?
I do, and I like it. And by the way, my money's on freaking Darby Allin. You can't beat him up. It's impossible. You can stay on top of him. You could slam him all over the place. It won't matter. He doesn't die. He can't be killed.
He really can't. And I've been looking forward to a Darby Allin cinematic match for quite some time now because he does have a background in film, and I just know that this is something that he's been kind of yearning for. So his input in this match is going to be really good. And I just love Taz in this segment, is that you finally get this meeting of the minds between Darby Allin and Sting, and then he just obnoxiously, hey, shut up. Hey, I'm talking here. And he just cuts his great promo. I love what Taz has been doing this whole. I think, he's been the star of this whole feud with Sting and all, because Sting's, he's cut some criticism for not really doing anything, but Taz has been great on the mic, and I just really loved him tonight.
This has been money Taz this entire run. And I'm not the biggest fan of, I like his stable except for what's his name? Come on, small guy.
Ricky Starks?
Yeah, I like him as a talent. I just don't think he fits that group. But the rest of them are freaking just beasts, and it's a perfect stable just besides Starks, in my opinion. But his promos, holy crap, I want to see him wrestle. Like I do, because his promos are so damn believable, and just it's like ECW Taz. Like, if fans have a chance, you got to go back and watch some of his ECW promos. The reason he got over was those promos. He was so believable. You thought this guy was 6'4". Easily 6'4", 300 pounds. I always thought, and that's because how believable his promos are, and he's getting his other talents over through. I would like to see Cage. I feel Cage is taking a back seat to this though a little bit. To me, Brian Cage, unless I may be crazy here, but was a future heavyweight champion. I always thought, and I don't. This doesn't help get him there, in my opinion.
No, and having another Muscle and Hobbs in that group also makes Cage,
right. Hobbs is freaking undercover Jack too, dude.
Yeah.
Like, he's sleepy big. Like, he's like big boned big. He's a thick cat, and it makes Cage look small almost. And Cage is jacked.
Well, and remember, Matt, another thing about if they do the cinematic, obviously that's a great situation for Sting to be in, and you can protect him.
This is going to be amazing.
But
yes,
you can also have Taz involved. Because Taz can get, because again, it's a stunt controlled movie at this point, so Taz can fight in this.
Dude, he's got to get a Taz mission, and that's all.
Yeah.
Just give me one.
We're gonna take it to the streets of Jacksonville. Joni Shauna Jenkins, 5 Canadian. Hey Matt, one thing is for certain: Shivani never screamed, "It's Glacier."
I want that, and that's a shame. He should have. Poor Glacier.
Nice guy.
Glacier. That's what I thought it was.
Glacier, nice guy.
I thought it was Glacier. When Sting debuted, I thought it was Glacier. I was like, are they bringing back Glacier? Because winter is coming. I thought that was going to be the payoff. And then it was Sting.
Dude, Glacier is such a nice man. Like, everybody I know who's ever met him, like, puts him over huge here in Florida. He's a pretty big deal here. He does a lot of, work to help other addicts and other people in our community that need help, underprivileged people. He's a really good man, Ray Lloyd.
Doesn't he have a small training school in Georgia?
Yes. But before he did that, he was like here locally in the Orlando area for quite a while.
Nice. All right, so moving on, we see the Young Bucks. They have a camera and Alex Marvez, and they are at Kenny Omega's house. They're coming. Kenny's not answering his phone. They can't find him, so they're going to go do a little wellness check on him. And so they eventually get inside of of Kenny's nice house. He's nowhere to be found. All they see is Michael Nakazawa, who greets them and takes them to see. Takes him to a great room, and there's an oil painting of Kenny Omega and Don Callis, just shirtless in jeans with 8-pack abs. Looks very Billy and Chuck. You get what I'm going at here. And all of a sudden, Don Callis shows up. What are you guys doing here? I commissioned this as a birthday present for Kenny. Blah 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 blah. Kenny's not answering his phone. Don goes, well, what number do you have? Just completely just blowing him off of how you guys are just, not a part of Kenny's inner circle anymore. And eventually ends up, Don Callis has the cameraman and Alex Marvez taken to the dungeon of the room so he could talk privately with the Young Bucks, but the camera is still there filming in the living room and basically trying to bribe them. Says, look, you've been friends with him for 12 years, but how about this check? Why don't you just get on out of here? Don't be the hanger-oners from the old neighborhood. Kenny's got bigger things to go. And obviously they take offense to that and they knock the camera over, black it out, but they are we hear the noise of them beating up Don Callis, and we'll get more to the story here in a few segments. But a nice little, AEW leads with their comedy. I don't think they ever overshoot it.
Can I ask you guys both a question? I watch BT. I watch everything on YouTube as it relates to AEW, especially the Bucks. Did I miss something? I thought they too sweeted them at the end of that episode. I thought they were all now in this huge super Bullet Club, essentially. What am I? Is this just infighting, even though they still are now in this super Bullet Club, or what did I miss?
AEW actually does well, but they could actually hurt themselves doing this because a lot of people were confused. There was a subtlety to when they did the Too Sweet that you could see the look on the Young Bucks' face. They were very conflicted. It wasn't like, yeah, we're back together. It seemed like, I don't know about this. And then that's now playing itself out. But it is a little jarring. But I guess the story is that they did kind of reunite temporarily, but Kenny Omega had his own plans that did not involve the Bucks.
Well, there was a reuniting 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks ago.
And then last week, if you guys recall, it was supposed to be Kenny and the Young Bucks in 6-man action.
His two best friends.
Right. And right backstage, I said, we love your entrance. Let's do separate entrances. So Kenny goes out first, and then Don Callis, bulldozes it all and says, no, we got two partners, and here comes the Good Brothers. And then the Bucks were in the backstage going, what the hell? So they thought there's a reuniting, and then now they're realizing, okay, we're getting pushed out. So it seems by Don Callis, who's brainwashing.
I want them to be all together, man. Like, I don't want this stuff where they're like infighting. I just want it to be a super group. But then they need to get 5 people to oppose them.
Yeah, I think it might have been a mistake to start like that because a lot of people are really excited for a Bullet Club reunion, and then that's not at all.
Yeah.
FH throwing some, was it €5? Team Taz would be a good team win with trios belts coming this year. With the amount of tag teams and stables, the belt will have a lot of talented team. Is that official? We don't. That's just speculation about the trios titles.
It is, yeah, but it absolutely would happen. There are so many talented teams. And to your point earlier, Justin, that Silver, Reynolds, and Hangman Page just did this triple team sequence at the end, and it was just phenomenal.
Oh my God! And they did it again. They did it like 2 weeks ago. Was it? Same thing. They're frigging awesome. I'm tongue-tied here right now, but they're frigging awesome. I'm excited. I hope they do have a trios title. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it. Everybody's got gang affiliation in AEW. Nobody for a while AEW or Darby was the only loner. He was the only loner, and now he's got Sting even. So everybody has got somebody to love. As the song
that's pretty. Say. I think that's pretty cool. I like that.
It
gives you a layer. You're built in with an automatic layer, no matter what talent you are on that roster. I think that's important.
It is. I value singles matches. I feel sometimes we get sometimes we watch episodes of Dynamite where the only singles match is the women's match.
Well, why can't they still have singles matches? Moxley's the only guy by himself, really, right?
Well, that is true. Now, yeah. I don't know. It's nice, but sometimes when I watch and every match is a 6-man, 8-man, or 10-man, it's
the argument could be made, hey, it's a little redundant. Everybody's part of a thing, therefore nobody's really special. Okay, yes, but they're a new company. And because they're a new company, there's a lot of no-name talents that the mainstream fans have not seen or ever heard of before. So by putting them in a group, they can get the rub from other talents in that group that they really need.
And to counter that point, I've been watching some Attitude Era Raw, and that was a big thing in the Attitude Era.
That's all it was, right?
You had the Disciples of Apollo.
Yes.
They had a stable. It's the same thing.
Dude, the whole roster, like from the beginning match, always, yes.
No, and that's true. And I guess another point to counter my original thought is that's been some of the biggest complaint about WWE in the recent 5-10 years is that they don't do enough stables. So I guess this is a way again of quenching that thirst. So we'll talk about guys you don't know and you're trying to get exposure. Up next we get Cody up against Peter Avalon, pretty Peter Avalon. And this one, an interesting way they have it booked. They have Cody immediately. Cody I think made this declaration earlier that he's going to beat Peter in like a minute. Right out the bat, Cody hits his finisher on him, but then here comes Jade Cargill. Jade just stays on the stage distracting Cody. That prompts Peter to then get a low blow kick on Cody. Doesn't get the victory out of it, but gets the upper hand, gets some offense. This goes picture in picture for a bit. Ultimately, it comes out to where Cody does win by submission here. And they did eventually then say that Cody next week is going to answer the words that Shaq had given back in December in that famous Shaq Brandy thing. So it looks like we're relighting that back up.
I'm in love with Jade Cargill. I think, dude, she is such a freaking stud. Just like physically looking at her, I'm like, she screams main event. I don't want anyone, oh, she's green, she can't go promos. Okay, fine, she's new, great, I get it, good story. But when she walks through an airport, I'm sorry, she passes the Kevin Nash airport test. Everybody's gonna be wanting to take pictures with her.
Yes.
She looks like she could kick your ass, guy or girl, by the way. She's believable as hell, and I don't know. I think she's phenomenal to have, and they're lucky they got her. And I hope they do something big with her.
Sometimes I think to myself, like, if Vince ever watched AEW, like, who would he break his pencil? Like, why didn't we get him? And Jade Cargill would be one of those.
Her. Yes, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, Matt, you mentioned, I've heard the same thing too, of people being very critical. Oh, she can't cut a promo, she doesn't sound
right.
And it's like, you know what, you can, with the people that are there in AEW, you can
teach her.
You can teach her a promo. You can't teach her that look. That's not taught.
Can't teach height, my basketball coach used to say. You can't. She's freaking tall and jacked, has a great look, and she's got a presence and aura, and it's not just based on her size. She has a confidence about her that I would argue, even if she was like 5'0", 100 nothing, let's say, with no muscles, I still would argue she'd have that aura.
And that promo that a lot of people are getting on, that was her debut. It was a long promo that she essentially had to memorize, and it just kind of came across as she memorized it. But I don't think it was bad in terms of her not knowing how to talk.
I praised it. I dared make the mistake on Twitter to praise it, Alfred. I got killed for it.
Yeah, you give it a year. I could definitely see with a little seasoning, she's going to be fine on the mic. That is not something that's going to hold her back that I'm concerned about at all.
I do remember Matt doing that.
She's bigger than Cody. Her muscles are big. Like, look at her leg muscles, dude.
Yeah.
I want her legs. I'm jealous of her legs.
I
have no legs.
I remember Matt praising on Twitter. It was a luau on Twitter. They roasted him over the flame for that.
Yes. Like, did you watch the same thing we just watched? Jesus, man. Like, they're going bananas.
But I kind of agree with him. Then her and Brandy, they got in each other's faces, and it just felt like an authentic. It felt like something.
Brandy now, real quick. That was a world beater promo by Brandy that night, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. That was really good.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, great for Brandy and Cody that she's pregnant. Obviously, the timing, they can't follow up with Jade and Brandy now for a while. But, yeah, that was some good stuff.
Hopefully they do Jade the right way. Bring her along slow. The stuff with Shaq, unfortunately, thrusts her to the main event right away. But by the same token, I'm going to counter my own point, actually. Jim Ross used to say this to me when I used to ask him, like, when Brock I was about to be sent back down to OVW because Nathan Jones had just quit. So forget winning the WrestleMania tag titles at WrestleMania versus the world's greatest tag team that we were booked to be doing. So no more tag team for me. Instead, I was just going to be accompanying Brock to the ring and then wrestling on like Velocity and shit like that, right? And I said, why can't I just wrestle like my own matches and continue to improve? Why go back down to OVW? And he's like, because of your size and your look, it sticks out like a sore thumb. You can only be booked one way. You can't be a beginning of he didn't call it a curtain jerker, but you're not going to be booked ever as an enhancement talent. You're not going to be the beginning of the show type of wrestler. You're a main event act, and we've got to get you there. There is no in between. And Jade Cargill is this, I'd say the same exact thing. Same thing. You have to put her in that type of a situation. She would look awkward, or it would look awkward, I would say, if you just put her into some meaningless storyline, or let's say it's an all-woman show, for example, and you booked her like on the second match, right? That wouldn't fit. It just wouldn't fit. It'd stick out like a sore thumb because she screams main event.
She does. She's got a great look. So we'll again, when that very first thing started early December, it seemed like, okay, we're naturally going to go down to the road of a Cody, Brandy versus Jade, Shaq. But now, again, with Brandy being pregnant, not able to do that, I'll be curious to see exactly what the end game is here. Backstage, we get a showdown between FTR and the Jungle Boy, Jurassic Express. and Marco Stunt. Basically, Jungle Boy basically challenges Dax Harwood to a one-on-one match. He knows he can beat him one-on-one. And then Jurassic or Luchasaurus, excuse me, goes on to say, you know, we'll all be at ringside, but I want to make sure that nobody interferes. So here is a singles match lined up for next week's Dynamite. You know, Alfred, a minute ago, as we started talking about Jade, and we think about does Vince McMahon watch, if Vince ever watched AEW, he would, you know, who are some of the people that he'd go, damn it, why don't we have them? Well, this next match, there's somebody he actually did have. Yeah. Probably never, I guarantee, never ever met him. We have John Moxley, who they advertise Moxley is going to be in a match, and they give the championship kind of introduction, even though it's not a championship match, to Moxley and his opponent Nick Camarado. Nick, you know, they even made reference on the commentary. They did a lot of backstory on commentary, talking about how this guy trained with QT Marshall's gym. He graduated magna cum laude. He's got a degree in accounting. Just putting him up, talking about how he looks like Bruiser Brody. Well, Nick was in NXT. Most people don't know this guy. I don't think he ever made any NXT TV, but he was part of the April releases that the company did because of the pandemic, or so they said, because of the pandemic. So he never even, you know, so this is a guy, as I immediately sat up when I saw him because he was just such a look. And then his ring work with Moxley being intense had my attention. And I'm just looking at him, and I start doing some Google, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, here we are.
Was he in a tag team for NXT?
If he was, it was a tag team that only did the non-TV NXT circuit, because I don't think he ever made Wednesday television.
Okay, it's not who I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah. Matt, did you see this match? What did you think?
He looked great. He screamed star too, by the way. Good. This was good, man. This show, I gotta admit, like, to be a talent and try to get booked on this show would be like next to impossible. Like, for real. Like, they are stacked. Think about it. Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy was like, for the longest time when this company first started, was supposed to be the future of that company. Go back and watch it again. They were booking it like Jungle Boy one day will be the future babyface of this company. If you go back and watch it early on. And for good reason. He does have amazing potential, and he's great. But he'd been off TV for how long? Him and Jurassic Express? They were off TV for like a month, maybe a month and a half even. And I don't want to hear Dynamite. It is so damn hard because they are so loaded with great talents, really good talents. And they're a very deep roster is what I'm getting at. And they really need another show of some sort that's on a mainstream channel on mainstream hours, if that makes sense, because they are that loaded. And what do you guys feel about? I love Luchasaurus. I like all big, tall guys, generally speaking, right? Especially athletic ones. I'm getting bored. I'm getting sick of this stupid dinosaur shit.
It's a lot better in front of a crowd.
Huh?
Better in front of a crowd, I think.
He's so talented. He's so good. I like the mask. I do like the mask. The green tongue, green hair, stuff. It looks cool. It's dope. I just don't like. Did you know I'm 482 years old? And I don't like that anymore. It's getting old. It's getting stale. They've got to figure something out different for him. He's got to figure it out. I don't know what it is, though. When you're booked as a dinosaur, like, what else can you really do? I don't know what that is. Maybe he just wears some type of mask still, nonetheless. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I hate to just go to the cheapest answer, but sometimes the simplest is the best. Okay, if he's still gonna be a dinosaur, have him be a dinosaur that loses. Let him be a T-Rex now. Let him kill his have him turn on his two buddies, kill them, and go out and be a heel single star yourself. Because that look, the mask, the tattoos, he's got something there. And if he's gonna be the dinosaur thing, fine. But turn him into a killer dinosaur now.
I will add, it would be a little bit of a mistake and a little bit hasty to make any large decisions like that to Luchasaurus' character during this pandemic period. Because if you remember, when there were crowds, this guy was more over than.
Oh, I'm not disputing him being over.
Crazy for him. And so, I think if they would have turned him heel and then it's like you reopen, it would not be in sync with the crowds that would be coming back. So I think
here's what you need to remember, though, Alfred, about the AEW fans: they pop for moves.
Yeah.
They ain't popping for dudes and I'm cheering for him because his character is freaking awesome in this storyline. They're popping for his moves, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's got great moves. He's got the moonsault that he does. He could kick. He does all the kinds. I mean, he's not like Ric Flair, but he is very impressive in the ring for such a big guy.
Definitely is.
Stellar Justin Lopez $4.99 commenting on Camarado saying this dude reminded me of Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds.
I love Camarado. You could tell from them talking him up to, I mean, he took a lot of this match against a former world champion. Even when he lost, John Moxley didn't lose a match for over a year, and he won this by the skin of his teeth. It was like when Andre the Giant got choked out in Princess Bride. Like, you got to hold on, and he barely beat him. And you could tell Nick Camaro, they see something in him, and I can't wait to see how he develops.
Well, I'll be honest. I didn't tweet this because I didn't want to get the roast like Mac got.
Yeah.
But there was a split second as they did the championship introductions to them, and then the commentators immediately they had their bullet points down of what they knew they wanted to tell you about him. I had a quick moment and I said to myself, "Is this going to be a September '97 Hugh Morris versus a guy named Bill Goldberg?" I was like, "Is that what this is going to be?" Because it kind of had that like feeling of like, is something going to pop up here? And are we about to put a rocket into somebody new here? So that didn't happen, but it was still a great showing. And it kind of falters into the fact that they tape Dark 6 days ahead of when it airs, because they showed the Dark bottom line of who wins and who loses right during this match or right after. And Scorpio Sky beat Nick Comoroto on the episode that aired last night. So obviously last Wednesday they didn't know they were going to put Comoroto in this spot. That's a little odd if you watch both shows, but that's it. So yeah, Moxley wins by submission. So looking forward to seeing more Nick Comoroto, hopefully. We didn't see we get a little Eddie Kingston's being interviewed. All of a sudden, Lance Archer storms in. Jake Roberts trying to hold him back, and so we're going to get a Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer match next week. We then see Kenny Omega show up, and he walks into the locker room. He is not aware of anything that's happened with Don Callis. He sees Callis has got a big old bruise in his eye. Callis tries to just play it off. Eventually says no, it was the Bucks who did this. And now Omega is pissed and storming out the room. He wants to get some revenge. All right. Here's a 6-man tag. We got Top Flight with Matt Sydal up against Private Party with Matt Hardy. This one again,
Can I just say something before you even say anything about the match?
Yes.
Just on paper alone, I never thought I would say this about any Hardy brother, but I was so excited to see this until I saw Matt on it. Because I'm like, wow, we're going to have 6 all like freaking super duper athletic dudes that do some really impressive spots, some inventive spots, forward thinking spots. But again, super fast paced, super athletic. All of them have crazy sick hops. We're going to see some cool. And then Matt Hardy. And I can't believe I'm saying that because like the Hardys invented this shit essentially, like in a way, right? High spots and forward thinking spots and stuff, But that's just with time, what happens, right? But Matt's doing some of his best work, I will argue right now, is Big Money Matt. I love this character.
Yeah, of course, the storyline going. Well, first off, Matt and Private Party, they were on Impact last night, so there's that whole thing going on.
I saw it. I saw it.
So I think they're number 1 contenders for the Impact Tag titles.
Yes,
I believe.
Private Party. Yep.
And so the whole gimmick here going into this match, the storyline here is Matt's trying to get Private Party to basically heal it up a little bit more and take what you got to take when you get it.
Dude, on it really quick on Impact last, I gotta say this real quick. He cut a promo against the Good Brothers, and he says his Private Party can't talk. He's like, you guys can't talk. You guys haven't earned that right yet. You guys haven't gotten tough enough yet. I'm gonna do the talking for you. It was so funny. It was like such old school carny crap that would really shoot happen. It's like something like Rip Rogers would say about like me when he had a tag with me, like my very first match or something like that, And that guy was like in his 50s, I think, at the time, and just something that an old school carny wrestler would say. And I don't know, it's entertaining as shit. I'm really happy with what Matt's doing.
I am too, and you're right. And you could say this. I think you could say this to both Hardys, and neither would be offended. It says something when Matt Hardy is the least athletic,
Yeah,
right,
in the ring of the 6
the whole time in this match.
individuals.
And I love Top Flight. Sorry.
So this match gets a little crazy. This is the one that JR harps on. The referee Bryce. At one point, somebody went to pin somebody, and they didn't because that wasn't a legal man. And then Jim Ross, well, why the hell does it matter? And then at another point, he was like, "This referee can't control anything." So it was getting crazy. The thing
Dude, Grumpy JR. I texted him this. I go, Grumpy JR is money.
Yeah. So the one thing I want to note before I tell you the finish that I winced at is Matt Hardy's on the outside. Matt gets some stuff done. Then he gets to the outside, and then I think it's Darius Martin from Top Flight. He comes going at 150 miles per hour and does a suicide dive through the middle of the rope and slams Hardy. Hardy's head hits the barricade. It looks like knee or ankle roll, and Matt had a hell of a time getting himself back around, and I could tell that he was not 100% the rest of the match.
No.
So these young, I mean, how many? Matt's been there for like a year. I mean, these young kids are going to, between Sammy and these kids are going to kill him that they don't slow the hell down.
I know.
And that's not Matt's fault, but
bro,
Private Party and Matt Hardy win after Private Party cheats.
Sorry guys. Dude, he really is so fast. He was like going 150 miles an hour. Like, dude, Top Flight is fucking awesome, dude. I love them. I can watch them all day. I don't care. Ooh, they're sport monkeys. Cool. I don't care. I'm entertained by it.
This match on paper was going to be like rock and roll, balls to the wall, 1,000, and it did not disappoint. And we were talking about these trios team. Top Flight and Matt Sydal is right up there with another team that would be very exciting as a 3-man team. They got to stop beating Top Flight, really. I think they're just so talented.
Yes!
You can find some guys to beat. But
dude,
I thought
Matt Sydal should have taken it.
Yeah. And I like the fact that Private Party turned heel. I like that that's the direction they're going, because the big money Matt storyline is very funny, but it did run the risk of making Private Party look like idiots if they're just these baby faces who are
that just stupidly follow him. Yes. You're right.
But I like this. I like the ending and then turning heel.
Yeah, and a minute ago we were talking about Kenny Omega and how he was dressed. We didn't mention, and Callis even made note of his shoes, which will come into play here in a little bit. This comment's getting a lot of love in the chat room. NYC Demon Diva, she goes, if Breezango and the fashion files was still a thing, Kenny Omega would be fined for that fashion crime he'd committed. So.
That's getting a pop in the chat room.
That's getting a pop in the chat room.
She's over. No, she's super over. She did. She came into this. Was it? I can't even talk. Podcast on that me and Glenn did the other night. Funny as hell.
She's done some podcast stuff with me, some guest spots.
And that's what Glenn shared with me after the show a little bit about that, because I never seen her before in chat, because I can't see the chats,
right? Or
I've never seen her on my Twitter or nothing like that. But Glenn's like, she's freaking talented and she's funny. She could talk crazy shit. I was like, we need to get her ass on then, dude.
She's pretty, she's funny, and she's sassy. All about pro wrestling. That's a huge win in this day and age.
Yes.
Matthew Pierce, $4.99. An average Wednesday is still better than a good Monday in the wrestling world. Just dropped one, guys. Thanks for the show. I'm loving Kenny Omega.
Matthew, 100%, dude. I agree. Yes. You don't have that pit in the stomach, and all podcasters have this pit. I've now determined off of Twitter. Everybody covers Raw has this same pit in their stomach right around like 7 o'clock, 7:30ish, I'd say. And like, I got to eat up 3 hours of my life. Whereas Wednesday night, I don't know about y'all, but like around 5 o'clock, I start getting like pre-wrestling, excited. Like I used to get, like when Monday Night Raw used to come on or Nitro came on back in the day. I love Wednesday nights.
I love the like I did Monday. Obviously, I did Monday's podcast this past week. I love Wednesdays in terms of the content, but it's
like, hard.
Yeah, having two screens up and audio, and I'm trying to take little notes so I don't forget little things here.
You have to.
I'm really waiting for. There was that time period where AEW and NXT were on separate nights. It was so much easier to just enjoy everything that happened on both shows and not miss anything. Because I got to admit, even when we do these shows, when Justin's recapping AEW, there are sometimes small things where I missed that always in NXT.
Dude, 100%. Yes.
Well, here's my 2021 prediction. Sometime before this year's out, NXT will move to Tuesday nights on USA.
Hey,
it's the right move. That's a good move.
It's
only going to help them.
It's the right move, but it should have already happened. But what's delaying it? And Matt, you know what I'm talking about. Now, for you do too. What's delaying it is a matter of pride. Because to Vince and to Triple H, it's gonna be a matter of we were on Wednesdays first, even though it was on the network. We were on Wednesdays first, so then moving is gonna be people are gonna interpret that as a sign of defeat.
Absolutely,
he's right. Yep.
That's what's delaying the inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, hopefully, I think USA might come in and say, "Look, we've seen how well you guys do when you're unopposed. When AEW's been all for preempted, let's just get you a different night."
Is the chat room buzzing right now? My sweet Indiana hat I just got. I went on a trip to Indianapolis. It's pretty freaking over, isn't it?
Crickets.
No? Nothing. Bueller. No.
Nothing. How was Indianapolis?
Cool. I love Indy. It's always a fun time. Cool people out there. It was cool. Yeah. Started a new job. I don't know if everybody knows this, but as elected official, you don't get paid bleep not enough to take care of your family, obviously. So many, if not all, city elected officials generally always have some type of business, whether they own their own business or they're an attorney. Generally, usually, if you look it up, many are attorneys or something of that nature. So I was just checking out this company based out of Indianapolis and seeing what they were all about. But fun times. Scored points with the wife by bringing her home a V-neck Notre Dame shirt that cost me like $46 at the airport, though. What the hell?
Ooh, yeah, airport merch. Oof.
I know, I'm smarter than that.
Did you get the?
Maybe I'm not.
If you can answer, did you get the new gig? Like, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. One more super chat before we get back on to the show. Nightmare Knee, $5. People harp on the Crash TV stuff, but AEW has old school feel, and I love it. Darby for president.
I'd vote Darby for president.
A day of president talk, obviously dominating today's.
Very timely reference.
Yes, timely reference. Backstage, we get MJF and Wardlow. They storm into the rest of the Inner Circle locker room. Nothing really here, just more guys. We really don't want to have to fight each other, but Chris says we're going to do it. All right. Our favorite storyline. Penelope Ford out there with Kip Sabian, Miro, and Chuck Taylor, or I believe Charlie, as they're referring to him. Charles, thank you, Charles. Up against legit Layla Hirsch. Both girls, I thought, looked really good. We've praised Layla Hirsch before. We praised Penelope Ford, all for different reasons. I thought they put on a good match. The only problem I had with, they botched the ending. They basically tried to have, they tried to come in and hold. They tried to have, I think it was Kip tried to hold down Layla Hirsch's foot. He ended up actually like putting her foot on the rope, which that would have actually broken up the pin. But they called it a 3. Again, JR, I don't know what the hell happened. So Penelope Ford gets the win, but then the shenanigans after the fact is Orange Cassidy sitting in the crowd. Miro gets on the mic, and he's telling Charles, you have to tell him that Miro is your best friend. Tell him right now. And so he does it begrudgingly. He tells him that Miro is his best friend, and Orange Cassidy sulks off.
Okay, on paper, that sounds corny as shit, obviously. But I did laugh at it for what it's worth. I thought I did pop. And by the way, Penelope Ford is a much bigger star than that company has been using her as. We said it from I think her first singles match she had, that she's got everything, especially for a WWE female star, I would argue. All the boxes that Vince usually checks off, right? But in AEW. So I hope they start using her. I think she's much more, not just talented, but worth more to that company, actually. Not just coming out with freaking Kip Sabian. No offense to Kip Sabian. He's a talented wrestler. He's athletic. But nobody cares about him. Nobody cares about him. He's just another short, athletic kid on that roster. Okay? Penelope Ford, in my opinion, is a star. Okay? Rusev is a star. Sorry. Can't call him Rusev anymore. But, I think putting either of those two with Kip, I think brings them both down.
Well, he's a short, athletic guy who's marrying up. Their wedding is in 2 weeks, by the way, on TV.
February 3rd.
Yeah, great. Then after that, I don't know.
Yeah, as much as we were talking about Jade Cargill being just this monster who's a head turner, there is a head turning quality also to Layla Hirsch for the opposite reason that she's so short, but she's such a badass. So good at being convincing in that role that does kind of get my attention in terms of, wow, who is this person? I really think there should be more of her.
That's it. See, now there's a great example of somebody who isn't, Matt, you're a heightist or some shit like that. They'll say, oh, Matt, you only think if you're tall that makes you a star. No, I don't. I said that you have to have something about your aura about you that makes people want to turn their heads and double take at you.
You just said Darby's a star, and he's like 5'6", $150.
Darby definitely has that. In spades, he has that. So does Layla Hirsch. So does she. She's freaking pretty jacked too, for the record.
Yeah.
Wasn't she like a power lifter, they were saying, or something like that?
Yeah,
or
she's an amateur wrestler too, right?
Yeah.
Amateur wrestler. So there's that legit thing that she has about her as well. She's a star in the making too, big time.
Yeah, I mean I think when they call her legit Layla Hirsch, I think that front flip she did off the top rope to the outside.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Look, obviously Penelope in real life is with Kip, so whether or not they will split them up on the storyline, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
But I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm such a huge fan of Miro. this makes the stuff with Lana and Bobby Lashley look like a top-rated soap opera.
Seriously. I know. I feel bad for him, man. Or maybe I don't feel bad for him. He should have the ability to like voice his opinion. He's a big star.
And that's the thing. We all felt bad, and we all went, "Oh, boo, poor Rusev," because we knew that he had no control. It was a he was being told by the office, "This is what you're going to do. Go out there and do it because you need to get paid."
Yes.
But we all have this understanding. We think of AEW to where it is a lot more collaborative, free-flowing, progressive. There are no writers, so like if he's contributing to it, if these are some of his ideas, if he thinks this looks good, ugh.
And that might not be out of the question, because if you remember, he was defending this wedding angle. I don't know if he was just being a WWE soldier, but he was out on Twitter in interviews saying how good this was, how it did well for ratings. So this might be his idea for all we know.
Yeah, maybe. And I love Miro. Don't get me wrong, I love Miro, but I'm not excited when I see this on TV. All right, backstage, we get more craziness. The Good Brothers are beating up Penta. They're beating up Penta. They're throwing them all around, and then here comes Kenny Omega and Don Callis, and then Omega shows up and he pulls off this big fancy boot that he's got on, and he starts sticking the steel tip point of the boot into Penta's eye hole of his mask, and they're just beating the hell out of him.
That was good.
Yeah, and ultimately this ends up leading to their announcement. I believe at their Beach Brawl show they have in a couple weeks, the main event is going to be Omega and the Good Brothers up against Moxley and Penta and Phoenix?
Yeah. Dude, this was great. This was old. I love the old school twist in this. This is Dusty, with the Road Warrior spike, to the like. This was dope. I like this. Made Kenny look vicious.
Which he keep doing that.
They need to keep doing it. Yes, sir. Yep.
All right, main event time. Chris Jericho and MJF versus Santana and Ortiz versus Sammy Hagar. And we got a cameo from Sammy Hagar, who filmed a quick little thing, who I guarantee has not watched 1 second of AEW, but Jericho called it a favor.
Not. But Jericho's over, and he got that. I popped for
that. So that's what we got here. The three-way tag team match. Again, the idea is whoever wins is going to be the official tag team. It's going to move forward and challenge for tag titles here in AEW. This was good. Triple threat tag teams can be tricky because, like, how do you get somebody from the third team to tag in? You would not in the right mind go and tag one of them, because then that takes you out of being able to win the match. So these guys did a very good job of getting themselves tagged in, doing some different spots, building the animosity here. Ultimately, it came down to where, with a little bit with Wardlow causing a distraction, getting hit on the apron, ultimately MJF got to roll Sammy up and pulled the tights for the 1, 2, 3. So Jericho and MJF won. There really wasn't much more than this because they were so crunched on time. They literally got the 1, 2, 3 in, and they had 7 seconds to go until they had to get off the air. So I looked at the clock and I was like, and I'm watching the referee, Aubrey Edwards, and I can see her scrambling, talking to everybody like, let's go. But they got it in. So MJF and Chris Jericho are your winners and are going to be the tag team of the Inner Circle.
Hey, I had to change the wires on my phone. I apologize, my charger. Really quick, if you can hear me, guys. Big props to Aubrey. I was watching that part, actually, and I did try to go back and rewind it again. Aubrey deserves a lot of credit, dude. What she did tonight is the type of shit that Earl Hebner used to do back in the day, and other top officials that have been in the business for many, many years. How effortless I thought she did that actually was really well done. I know we saw that, right? But
yes,
Justin, you've done a couple things, right, in wrestling in the past. Like, you understand the importance of utilizing the referee. She did a phenomenal job with that at the end of this tonight, and I just wanted to give her props for it.
I absolutely agree with that, Matt. And I've done some of the manager spot, and I can tell you, I absolutely know in the few companies I work with which ref I want and which ref I don't want in terms of making sure that everybody's where they need to be when it's time to be. And I think Aubrey, out of the referees they have, not counting the brief cameo that Mike Chioda did with them, Aubrey's the best ref they have.
Not even close. Yeah, she's clearly the best ref. They put her in the main event.
And I think WWE went after her, and I don't think. Well, obviously she didn't sign. But
she had a tryout. She had a tryout as a wrestler.
Oh, was that what it was?
Yes. She had a tryout as a wrestler, actually, and it didn't work, but they thought about having her be a referee or some shit like that, and she learned how to be a referee, something like that. But she definitely was at the tryout camp as a wrestler at first.
Okay. One thing I've heard is that she likes, and this would make sense from what we've seen, is that she's more than just a referee. They have her doing the podcast with Tony Schiavone, the official AEW podcast. I guess she has a background in, I guess, video game creation. Obviously, they're getting in the video game market. So, this seems like it's a really great situation for her. She's getting to be more than just a ref, but she is the best ref they have.
Mm-hmm.
By far.
You talk about Grumpy JR. At the 7 o'clock hour, he's just like, "Isn't it TV time remaining? We got to go home. This has got to end right now."
Yes. Yes.
JR gives no Oklahoma Fs.
Just let him do that. It really is a charming thing to see.
Yeah, I love JR. All right, so that was AEW Dynamite. A good show. I'll be very interested to see how it and NXT performed last week. Both shows are drastically down because of the news that dominated last week with impeachments and stuff. Obviously tonight with all the inauguration and hoopla. We'll be curious to see if the quality of what we think these shows translates into the viewership. But check Wrestling Inc. tomorrow, right about 4 p.m. Eastern is usually when we have those numbers coming in. Alfred, let's go ahead and over to the NXT world.
Sure, we get NXT. You're talking about the inauguration, Justin. The first image we get, Beth Phoenix is a return to the commentary table. And you can't tell me this wasn't a troll job, at least subtly. She has this line where she goes, "I'm so excited to witness history today. It's the first ever women's Dusty Classic." And, I thought they were talking about something else in terms of history. But nope, it's a Women's Dusty Classic. But we start with Gargano and Theory, The Way versus Kushida and Leon Ruff. This was actually a really good match. A lot of action here. This was a night of upsets. Kushida, I thought, looked incredible in this match, especially starting with his comeback. He ran wild. It comes down to Gargano and Kushida in the final sequence, and Kushida hits a bridge suplex on Gargano and pins him clean in the middle. So the story is, this is the second time that Kushida has defeated the North American champion, Johnny Gargano. So we are headed to a feud between the two for that championship. But I was pretty surprised that The Way is out in the first round to this kind of mishmash tag team with Kushida and Ruff, Matt.
So real quick, many people are going to speculate and say the obvious, which is they're tipping their hand essentially that they're building Kushida to win this title from him. I will make the counterpoint that nope, they're using it as bait. And where we normally should get on the company for having the champions lose non-title matches, and that's generally a bad idea. For Johnny Gargano, it works perfectly for him to lose every non-title match that he's in, and then somehow cheats and does whatever he needs to do in a title match situation to continue to retain that title and continue to beat on his chest afterwards, even though he just lost like 5 matches in a row, let's say, or whatnot. It'll work great for Johnny. Johnny has to keep that title. He makes that title right now, in my opinion. And I have to eat my words. I didn't think he could pull off the heel stuff. He's killing it, though. He's crushing this.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny, in a way, can have a little bit of that classic Ric Flair formula in the fact that Johnny's so good in the ring. Ric Flair and somehow lost every night, and he still was the champion the next morning. You know what I mean? Like that Johnny can. Yeah. That makes sense. Johnny's going to be Johnny wrestling no matter what. So I thought this was a great way to get Kushida and Ruff a shine. They both of them when they celebrated, the thing I wrote down in my notes here was NXT, not Raw and SmackDown. NXT is so good at making stars from scratch.
I agree.
And Kushida had injury, which kept halting things, but now he's been, knock on wood here, healthy. They make stars there. And yeah, I saw people panic. I saw people say, oh, this must mean that Johnny's going to go to the Royal Rumble and Raw and SmackDown because that's in a few weeks. Guys, look at the bracket. Whoever won this match was going to go up against the grizzled veterans. Yeah, grizzled young vets. Kushida and Ruff make more sense to go up against them. So that's I don't read anything more into this other than this is a great chance to get these two younger guys over in Kushida and Ruff.
Good point, Justin.
We go to Pete
Thank
Dunne.
you, Matthew.
This was very well done. Pete Dunne just backstage, or it's kind of like a pre-tape promo where he says him and Finn are cut from the same cloth, that he left Europe, but he built an entire brand in Europe. He hates being compared to Finn Balor. Him and Finn Balor is inevitable. History is going to speak well of you, but it's going to speak better than me. You're just somebody who's going to be taking part of my legacy. Very, very strong words and really good promo from Pete Dunne. So they're building that feud between Dunne and Finn Balor. And then we get a backstage segment. Go ahead, Matt.
Would you say this is Pete Dunne's best promo?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
For my money as well. I thought the same thing tonight. Sorry.
Yeah.
I wrote down main event promo.
Incredible.
Granted, it's pre-taped and it might have took 100 takes. Who the hell cares? We see the final take. These were the kind of sound bites and intensity that goes on a WrestleMania package. That's what this was. That's exactly
what I loved about
was.
it. And sound bites. It was very quick. As quickly as I delivered that, that's about how long it was. But it got in a lot of information. It told you a story. It built a feud. It was incredible.
And I believed him. I believe he believed that. I believe he believed what he said tonight.
Yeah, I think he legitimately hates Finn Balor. Like yes. The fact that he says, "I don't like being compared to you." That's like kind of we get Tyler Rust and Malcolm Bivens backstage. Tyler Rust has kind of gone off on his own and made a match between him and Bronson Reed, and Bivens is not happy about this. Then we go to Karrion Kross versus Ashanti the Adonis, who has Desmond Troy in his corner. Doesn't matter. He gets massacred as you thought he would. Desmond Troy gets massacred for his trouble. So they are now building Karrion Kross as the next challenger up for the NXT Championship. Then we get a backstage segment.
Real quick on that match, real quick, Alfred. Who was the Cross massacred? Give me his name.
Ashanti the Adonis.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't catch his name, but again, my note from this one was credit to him and the female ref. I think her name is Asia.
Yeah.
Credit to them on the sell job, because if you watch this match, Cross delivered some brutal suplexes that landed, what made it appear that he landed on his neck, and dude was selling, and she was going to him and even pushing Cross back, like she was trying to do like the hand check to see like, hey, are you actually okay? It all was they did the whole stretcher gimmick post match, but credit to this kid who's only been on 205 Live, I think, and to the ref who really made me actually feel like, holy shit, Karrion Kross delivered this move too aggressively and killed this kid.
Yep.
We get a backstage promo from MSK just explaining their origin, showing some highlights from last week. I thought this was very good. They're doing good.
Sorry.
Then we get another backstage segment with Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. They're just cutting a promo about how they're going to win the Dusty Rhodes Women's Cup. Then we get into Lucha House Party versus Imperium. This was a lot of fun. Some double team moves, a lot of fast-paced action. There was like a Canadian destroyer from a drop kick by Lucha House Party. The finish came when Grand Metalik hit a moonsault to the outside of Bartel, leaving Lindsay Dorado and Fabian Eichner in the ring. Dorado hits a super kick, a shooting star. Lucha House Party wins. And after this match, Alexander Wolf resurfaces at the top of the stage. And so it looks like we're getting a little bit of an Imperium reunion.
All right, so Alfred, you're literally the only person in the history of professional wrestling that gave Alexander Wolf like a high pitch. It's Alexander Wolf.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him. I'm not like excited. I'm just saying, wow, of all people you expected to see on this show,
Tony Schiavone. It's Alexander Wolf.
Yeah, no. Like it was Lex Luger at the fucking mall in Minneapolis, wherever the fuck it's called, a Nitro. You know what I mean?
It was much bigger than that, Matt Morgan.
Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan. It's a public mall. He can be here.
Biggest moment of wrestling with Alexander Wolf. Oh, I can't wait to see how they follow up on this.
I mean, I feel bad because the guy's tried for many years. He has, and it just hasn't stuck. Things, this is probably the best use for him. But no offense to him, that in Imperium, he's just one of the three other dudes that all blend in as one to me. Walter's the stud, obviously, right? He's the only one that stands out.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I know Matt's not as big of a fan of I'm a big fan of the Lucha House Party. The offense, the innovative offense they do. And look, I know sometimes I get a little Jim Ross on some of the AEW crazy innovative offense, but it is because there is no structure or there is no tags or no respect for the rules. But I think Lucha House Party does it great within the rules of what WWE is going to enforce. I can't say enough good things about them. I'm so glad they won. Yeah, and like Matt said, Imperium, they did some great stuff. It took two to tango. They were a great team here, and these guys are talented bell to bell. But like Matt said, Walter is the star of this group. He was the definition of this group, and unfortunately, due to the pandemic and travel restrictions, You can see him on NXT UK, so it's great. But they've lost that huge hand of his in the American NXT to book him.
Do you think this is kind of a hint that Walter may be back sooner than later if they're bringing? I mean, nobody's here for Alexander Wolf and Imperium, but if they have 3, there's only one more left.
I don't until we get a better idea, until things get better in the country in terms of the situation. I don't think so, because I think even prior to the pandemic, things I'd heard was Walter did not have an interest of permanently relocating to Orlando and doing that shtick. He obviously he wants to be in the company, but he didn't. That's not what he wanted. So the fact that I just don't see that. I don't see a situation where they somehow get him over to the States and then he can't go back over to across the pond for X amount of months because of the rules of the world right now. Right. So I don't think so.
So then we get into the inaugural Dusty Rhodes Women's Classic. They really put a lot behind in terms of production-wise. They've got all the women on the stage. They have Beth Phoenix. She cuts this promo mentioning NXT alumni like Bayley, Sasha Banks, Carmella, Shayna Baszler, Asuka, how they went on to main event pay-per-views in WrestleMania. She announces the first 4 competitors of the NXT Dusty Rhodes Women's Classic, and that would be Kacy Catanzaro and Kaden Carter versus Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. Now, this was an okay match. It was what it was going to be. Kacy Catanzaro is pretty green. She didn't get a lot of ring time, but she does have potential. But I will say this is her best match, and she might have had the highlight of this entire show because the finish came. She's getting ragdoll. She spends a lot of time in this match. But then Io Shirai hits the ring and throws Mercedes Martinez on the announce table, so she's taken care of. Toni Storm is alone with Kaden and Kacy. Kaden sweeps Toni Storm, and then the spotlight gets on Kacy Catanzaro, who hits one of the craziest. I can only describe this as like a red arrow on crack, where she just lands on her back with this incredible flip on Toni Storm. It did look pretty painful on Toni Storm, I will admit. I think the fact that she's green kind of added to it and made it look more violent. But this is an incredible move that you just have to go back and watch. And Kacy Catanzaro and Kaden Carter win this match against Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm.
Forget the 450s, forget the 730s, forget the 920s, forget the 1080s, forget the 1080p. This was like a 1450. I try going back real quick and slowing it down and watching. I could not keep up, even in slow motion, with the rotations that she had. I don't know what she did, but this and the other thing I'll say is that Kacy and her partner Ember.
Oh, Ember.
They cut
Kaden Carter.
Okay, I'm sorry. I like the fact there was matching. I like the fact there was matching. I like the ring gear. The fact that it looks like if you're in a tag team tournament, it looked like a tag team. So I'm big on that. That's a weird thing, but I'm big on that. But yeah, this was.
I'm huge on that too. That makes them look like a tag team.
Couple super chats real quick here. It's Z $5. Why does Vince feel the need to call up someone to gut and make them crappier versions of themselves, change their music, wrestling styles, promos? Well, I mean, look, you can talk about a Keith Lee, for example. Obviously, ring gear change, music change. The only way to explain it, I know it's hard for us because we're not there, but it's like they exist the way they exist in NXT, and they're again, it's that seems like it's a more free flowing collaborative, and Triple H runs things differently. But once then Vince gets them, if he feels like I don't want you're a big black man with no shirt on, that doesn't look good. I want you to put if he thinks that somehow is going to improve this character, he's going to do that, even though everybody else could be going, what are you doing? He looks like he's fine, or his music's fine, or whatever. But it's Vince's product. If he thinks something, I mean, the guy's a 70-something-year-old man. I mean, he's done tremendous things in the business, but it's not to say that he's the most in touch with what the audience wants right now. But if he says it, there's nobody to veto him.
And we were also talking about pride. This is a man of tremendous pride. This is the greatest promoter of all time and a master marketer. So when he sees somebody come in, if they were to just come in with what they already had and absolutely let the world on fire, which Keith Lee could have done, then it's like Vince would probably be in a position like, well, what the hell does he need me for? Like, I had nothing to do with this. So Vince always kind of has to have his hands in, if nothing else, like he can kind of put the Vince McMahon WWE stamp on it.
Exactly. Another one, Steve Marcachilli, $4.99. Given Cross big money future, do you book him to bulldoze whoever wins Balor versus Dunn at NXT WrestleMania weekend. Well, Steven, I don't know if Balor versus Dunn is what I mean. I don't know, but they still have a pay-per-view and they're going to do in February. So, we'll have
I
to see
would. Answer to that question is yes for me.
I would not, especially if it's Pete Dunne. I just think I like Karrion Kross. I think he's a star. I like what they're doing with him, but I just think this is one of those things. This is trending to be Pete Dunne's year. He is just hitting on all cylinders. Karrion Kross just came back, so he's kind of working himself back into shape, working himself back into being the monster he was before. I'm just looking at Pete Dunne like, man, this guy is such money. If he wins that title, I think they should just let him run with it. But it's not great timing.
Here's the problem: Pete Dunne is incredibly short, right? You can't have him anywhere near a Karrion Kross or somebody like that if he's going to be your champion. They've got to be smart with how they book Pete Dunne. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to explain.
What you were saying about Taz earlier, like Pete Dunne, when you say he's short, is the first time I've ever even thought about him as being short because he talks, walks, and acts like he's like, to your words.
All of that is all legit true, okay? And I'll give Taz I'll still use Taz as my example. What happened when Taz went to WWE? Land of the Giants. Where they did not protect him like Paul Heyman did. Paul was very smart with how he booked Taz. He didn't put him in the ring with friggin' monsters. Closest thing to a monster was Mike Awesome, who was a legit monster. But other than that, that's really it as far as tall people go.
Well, they put Taz. Remember, they put Taz. One of the biggest adversaries Taz had to go against was the Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow. And what stunt did they pull? They had Taz suplex Bam Bam and had the ring break. Yes. They did things to highlight. Holy shit, Taz.
Two people. You know what I mean? Like that's how you book. That's how I would book a Pete Dunne, exactly like that. I'm not saying you don't make him a champion. You make him champion, okay? But you're very smart with how you book him. That's all.
Here's what I want with I'm a big when every time Karrion Kross comes on NXT, I mute AEW. My volume goes to NXT for this. I want to see the entrance. I want to see everything. I want to see. First off, I want to see
What's your favorite part of the entrance, real quick, Justin? What's your favorite part?
I love the whole damn thing. The Scarlet is a tremendous. The whole thing's great. I want to see this entrance with fans. I can't wait until they get fans that can react to and give a holy shit chant to it. Going back to the last super chat, one of my worries is that Karrion Kross is going to get quickly scooped up by Vince.
That could be. Could be right.
Have we never seen the Karrion Kross entrance with fans?
Never.
I didn't even think about that. Wow.
Karrion Kross debuted in NXT last spring.
That's right. It was during the pandemic.
Yeah, we've never all that's been has been a little pod of whatever those, friends and family are.
And by the way, for those of you who don't know, Casey Canzero, to my knowledge, is dating Ricochet. So if they have a kid, my goodness, the athlete they will have with that child.
Holy crap, right?
Olympic athlete in the waiting.
Easily. He'll be born onto a 400-yard dash.
Yeah.
We go to a backstage promo. Before that, it's Finn Balor goes to William Regal's locker room, and he demands to have Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, but William Regal suggests that he has a tag team partner. Finn says he only has enemies, and Regal says keep your enemies closer. And then we get a backstage promo where Mackenzie is about to make some announcement, and Casey and Caden interrupt her, and they're just wooting and cheering about winning and celebrating. And then Mackenzie just sends it back. I don't think she made her announcement. I don't know what she was going to say. And then we get Bronson Reed and Tyler Rust. So this is an okay match. It was pretty short. We cut to a brawl backstage between Tony Storm and Io Shirai. They gave Rust something. Rust hit a top rope assisted Samoan drop, but that's about all. Reed hit his big splash, and he won the match. Matt, what did you think about this match?
It was solid. It was good. It wasn't, didn't think it was like some drop dead amazing match, but it was good.
Yeah, it was what it was. I like the finish. I love the big splash from Bronson Reed. I like how he's I like how he's like a big man Vader kind of guy.
I do too. I do think though, for certain, nobody clicked the channel to go check NXT. You know what I mean? If they checked NXT, they immediately went back to AEW, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think to be fair to that point, Matt, because I think that's actually a really good analysis. I think when this was happening, they were opposite the women of AEW, which that's been in the ratings. That's been regularly it's been the weaker spot. So
I don't think these two women tonight. I don't.
Yeah,
so,
I hope.
We get a backstage. Finn Balor goes into the Undisputed Era's locker room, and it looks like he's going to be teaming with Kyle O'Reilly to take on Oni and Danny Burch. Then we go back into the arena for what was my favorite segment. Justin, you were talking about how NXT makes stars out of scratch. My goodness. This freaking Santos Escobar comes out, and he looks like a champion. He's dressed like a champion. He got the Cruiserweight Championship. He's cutting this promo about how he is the champion of champions. He doesn't have to conquer a curse like Johnny Gargano. He doesn't have a glass jaw like Finn Balor. Karrion Kross didn't even make his first title defense, and he's got this excellent bar where he said that NXT championship isn't the only chip that he has on his shoulder, which is so brilliant in so many ways that we don't even have time to get to. He goes in the ring. Legado del Fantasma is waiting for him hand and foot, and he says these guys are going to win the Dusty Classic, and then we're going to all be the champions of champions. And before we get to anything else that happened in the segment, I just decided this is the greatest cruiserweight champion in the history of WWE NXT. And I just mean that strictly from he defends a title, he cuts promos, he's got a stable. And this guy he put this title on the same level of the NXT championship by just kind of calling out the other champions. And for a second, I forgot that he was even the cruiserweight champion. I'm just thinking like this guy seems like he should be the number one contender. I absolutely love this. What did you guys think about this?
He did give that title a lot more importance tonight. He absolutely did, because he gave off an aura of a heavyweight champion in that promo tonight. I thought I really did. He's really talented, really good.
Yeah, when you think of cruiserweight champion, you think the champion of the diminutive small guys.
Yes,
but he comes off as larger than life. He comes off as
he definitely does.
He comes off in a better way than what I think they aim for Alberto Del Rio to come off, because it's the same kind of similar aristocrat kind of I'm better than all of you gimmick. And I'll tell you what. Joaquin Phoenix. I always want to call him DJZ or Shima Zion. Joaquin and the other guy. I'm sorry if I have heat with you. I don't remember your name, but him and the other guy next week in the tournament bracket up against Lucha House Party. Holy shit, that's gonna get crazy.
That's really
okay.
Good.
I'll even admit that. Yes, it will. It's gonna be pretty crazy. Yep.
That's gonna get nuts.
And then we get Lucha House Party. They jumped in, they brawled, and then. What's this? Kurt Stallion hits the ring to make the save, and backstage they set up Kurt Stallion versus Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight Championship. Now watch Santos Escobar lose this title right after I put him over like this. But we're gonna get Kurt Stallion versus Santos Escobar for the NXT Cruiserweight Championship. I'm here for it.
Sorry, Raul Mendoza is the name.
Raul Mendoza, yes.
Thank you, chat room for correcting me. Raul, I'm sorry if you see this. Real quick, Stella Justin Lopez 999. With Mania being 2 nights again, what do you guys think about the emerging takeover the 2 nights? It'll give guys like Gargano, who has no desire to be on the main roster, a WrestleMania match. I'll just throw out there, they don't have enough room for it. They have too much going on in Raw and SmackDown. They're not going to have room for that.
What do you mean that 2 nights? Wait, they're saying NXT is going to have 2 nights?
No. WrestleMania is going to be 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. So he's saying, what if they basically make one of the nights put some NXT takeover matches as part of WrestleMania on one night.
Ooh, I want to see that. I would like to see a lot of them get that opportunity, because I felt they've earned it. Especially the women's division of that particular league, NXT. But you're right, Justin. It's going to be too damn long.
And by the way, I did say Joaquin Phoenix. I think it's like Joaquin Wild. I might have said Joaquin Wild. I know.
I did not even have anything wrong with that when you said it, by the way. I didn't even notice.
Here's the thing. When I started in wrestling and working, doing the indies 11 years ago, I traveled with, again, he was
Zima Ion.
He was Shima Zion, then he was Zima Ion when he got the Impact.
He was SHIMA, correct?
Yeah, SHIMA. Yep. He had the hairspray gimmick. I know so many names by him. I can't keep track. Yes, it's Joaquin Wild.
It's such a unique name that you're bound to say Joaquin Phoenix and just
Joaquin Phoenix. Funny thing is, if I text him this clip right now, he'll pop that I call him Joaquin Phoenix.
The Joker.
Yeah.
We go to backstage with Drake Maverick, Killian Dane. Drake Maverick actually cuts a really good promo when Killian Dane just goes, "Hey, that was pretty good." Slaps him on the back. Then we go to that's when Escobar puts the title on the line against Kurt Stallion, and then the main event.
Real quick on Escobar, combo breaker, $1.99. Buddy Murphy called out Escobar on Twitter. That's interesting. Didn't know that.
Oh, interesting. Well, where has Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah been? What happened happened to that storyline? That was
I don't know, but I had a headline alert today that apparently Rey Mysterio said in some interview, it sounded like a mainstream interview, that he like hinted towards betrayal in the 2021 Royal Rumble. So like, is he going to turn on his son? Like, are he and his son going to be in the Rumble? Like, is Buddy Murphy going to be in there? Like,
he'll probably throw his dad out, that's cool.
Wow, that'll be interesting. So we get Thatcher versus Champa in the fight pit. I really like this. This was they had virtual fans in the background for this. So they start atop the pit and wrestled a lot of the early parts of the match on top. Then they finally worked their way down to the bottom. The story of this match was essentially Thatcher working over Tommaso Ciampa's left hand. It gets to the point where they're just slugging it out toward the end. Ciampa rams Thatcher's skull against the steel and hits the fairy tale ending. It looks like this will be the finish. Ciampa slaps on the rear naked choke, and Thatcher fights out of it, and he slaps on a modified stretch muffler against the cage, and Tommaso Ciampa taps out, and Timothy Thatcher wins the match inside his fight pit. So he's 2-0, undefeated in this fight pit, and I think did a lot of good for Timothy Thatcher based on how he's been booked in this feud, losing twice to Tommaso Ciampa.
I don't like Ciampa losing. I think he's such a much bigger star. And I just assumed this angle was an angle for him just as a holding place for him right now until they figure out what they're doing with Finn Balor with the title and everything. Then eventually he gets that title back. I see him as a heavyweight champion for NXT. I know people might think I'm overrating him, but I think the world of him as a main event talent for NXT.
so I love the intros to this. I love them walking up these long steps to get to this top catwalk of this pit. I love the spotlight on them, and they had the big screen right in the middle of them with the rules. It felt big league.
It did.
Yeah, I was a fan of this. I share in some of Matt's comments with not wanting to see Ciampa lose, but at the same time, Thatcher won the first version of this match against Riddle, and it kind of felt like as I watched Thatcher, red and beaten and just went through the ringer, and they said he's undefeated in this fight pit. I kind of felt this like, okay, if he's going to be in NXT for a while, easy on the comparison, but the way that Undertaker commands a Hell in a Cell, maybe this is like Timothy Thatcher's match, and we make it a thing of like, you got to get through Thatcher in the fight.
Okay, but like, I don't give a shit about Timothy Thatcher. So I don't care what his match is. I know I'm by myself on this. I know most of the fans dig him. I don't know what he's missing for me to come over and like watch his and like his shit. I just don't like his shit. I don't know how to explain it any other way.
I completely get it. He is an acquired taste in that he's this catch can wrestler.
But they all love him. All my fans on Twitter love him. I feel like I'm the only one that doesn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I don't love him. I do like Timothy Thatcher, but I like him for his character and for his talking. I really like the character Timothy Thatcher. Maybe his wrestling isn't my favorite to watch, but I do like how he's a convincing tough guy.
Yeah, he is convincing. Yeah, he's like the, like we saw with the William Regals of the world. He's got like that British toughness mixed with this MMA flair, and this match is an MMA flair because it's like Matt, I agree. He's not somebody who necessarily you think is going to talk me in the building, and I don't think live promos he does, but the sit down pre-produced stuff they did with he and Ciampa, like the thing they aired last week, again, with given time to feed him lines and feed him good sound bites.
One of the easiest things to do as a pro wrestler, dude, is to be given that opportunity to treat your match like a real sport. It's so simple when you're able to do it that way. I'm not saying his promo wasn't good because of that. I'm not saying that at all. Sure. But most wrestlers, that was always my dream. That's why my build versus Kurt Angle at TNA was like a 6-month storyline to build to get to Kurt Angle Bound for Glory. All my promos were sport based. I was in the gym working out. I'd improve my cardio, right? So they showed me in a hyperbaric cardio. Yeah, chamber cardio machine, trying to legit improve my lung capacity because I knew I was in for at least a 20-minute match versus Kurt, and I'd never been in a long match like that. My matches were generally about 10, 12 minutes tops. So we treated it like a shoot, like a real sport, and what I was doing to change my body to get in lose weight, get a little bit even leaner to the point where it's almost skinny, I would say, but to improve my cardio, because that's what I thought I was going to take to beat Kurt Angle, right? So it was treated like a real sport. And when they do that with Thatcher, it comes across really real, very believable, very convincing, and that's when he's at his best.
So it ended with Thatcher winning, and there was kind of just like this showdown of like mix of like I hate you 'cause you just beat me, but also respect.
Yes.
Thatcher and Champa, no handshaking or anything. Some super chats. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, if they had that plan, because this was supposed to occur a couple of weeks ago, if that plan was for them to maybe enter the Dusty Classic as a tag team before, because they seemed like there was a respect thing, but it's obviously happened later.
Like strange bedfellow tag team almost.
Yeah,
like,
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Alfred, that's a valid point. You're right. They wanted to have that on the New Year's Evil. So that would have been a weird segue, or that would have been a natural segue of like these two guys who can't stand each other, but they know that this is the only other man who's as tough as me, and we're going to go to this tournament together.
Yeah.
Just run through it. How fun would that be?
That's interesting. That's a good call. So that was NXT. A couple super chats and 2 news items, and then we're going to call it a night here. Bigfoot Sneakerhead 499. Hey guys, I know this is off topic. What are your top 3 favorite wrestlers? Ultimate Warrior, Bret Hart, Macho Man, that I assume are his. Matt, do you have 3 that come?
So he's a big, I'm going to say 1991 wrestling fan. 92. When did Bret Hart start hitting it? 91?
I mean, in my
93?
mind, yeah, he had a big SummerSlam match in 91 against Perfect. 92 was Bulldog and SummerSlam.
All right. So, Hulk Hogan, number 1. Andre the Giant, number 2. Huh.
That's
Rock
tough.
number 3. Rock number 3.
Alfred?
Yeah, that's a tough. Okay, so I will say all-time Shawn Michaels is number 1. I'd say Hogan's. I'll say Hogan's number 2. I was a huge Hulkamaniac as a kid. That's what really made me fall in love with wrestling. And then number 3, The Rock and Stone Cold are right there. I'm going to go with The Rock. I'm going to give it to The Rock because I just love his promos, and he's just such a dynamic guy.
Yes.
I'll go with Stone Cold number 1.
Wow.
Number 2, I'll say
Bruno Sammartino.
No. Shawn Michaels, number 3, Undertaker.
No, it's good.
You can't go wrong with any of those.
You can't go wrong with the top 3. That's a good question.
Yeah. We kind of touched on this on the news Monday. So $5. Bear Hudson. What do you think about Ryback calling Mark Henry a bad worker in the ring? And did anyone hear Mark Henry's response? And where is Tava? We touched on this Monday. Mark responded and just kind of debunked Ryback. I don't want to like rehash. It's such a back and forth, but I mean, you guys, Alfred, I haven't talked to you about this at all. Do you have any comment to this?
This would be a good show for Raj to hear because I know he talks to Ryback. But you'll never hear me say a bad word about Mark Henry. He's one of the greatest in my eyes, and I'm not even going to categorize it. I think it's really weird that they're going back and forth. The way I found out about this is I actually saw Jericho's tweet, and I responded to it and said that Mark Henry's great or whatnot, and then Mark Henry responded to that. And so now I'm getting all these comments, and people are like, yeah, screw Ryback. And then I went back and watched, and I think it's unfounded and ridiculous, and Mark Henry's great. That's all I have to say about that.
It is. I didn't know if Ryback was just trolling, trying to work a gimmick or some shit here. Makes no sense. Like I said when we first talked, Justin first broke this on the air. And Mark Henry is a big teddy bear. I don't know anybody in that locker room that didn't absolutely love Mark Henry. I mean, love. Not like to say, hey, what's up, Mark? I mean, love and hug him. Such a good man. Yeah,
Alfred, you mentioned Raj after we talked about this on Monday, and I made mention that I text Mark about this, and I do the Friday segment with Mark Henry on Busted Open Radio on Sirius XM, and some comments came in of Mark and me versus Ryback and Raj. Book it.
I'd love to see that. We're in WrestleMania season.
Justin's loving that.
Yeah,
loving that.
Get me over. Put me a payday. $2. Aim Master. Why is Matt Morgan always in his car?
Have you not watched the show? Because I have a nonverbal autistic son that I can't predict. Will come on the screen or in the background, have a meltdown and scream and yell. That could last up for an hour sometimes. And it's just much simpler for me to be out here. I don't keep him awake as well. So, yeah. And I bet you feel stupid for asking that now.
This could also be an opportunity to get a car sponsorship. We can get whatever car you're driving, Matt. Reach out to him, and we can give him a sponsorship here.
Yeah.
All right, and real quick, 2 news items we'll touch on. Raw viewership down this week. Obviously, the main event they focused on was Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. It did not do them any favors compared to last week, as they are. Actually, I'm sorry.
What?
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. They're up. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I actually had my stuff mixed up. They actually are slightly up this week.
Yeah.
With how they finished. They finished at 1.855. That's up from the 1.819. I'm sorry. I have my numbers all this.
And that's just this tiny fraction, obviously, but I like at least it's an uptick. And that was a great segment. That was such a strong segment.
Well, and a strong segment, and like, you know, they kept pushing us. We knew this. Okay, we're building to something here
Throughout the night, right? Right?
Alexa,
throughout the night.
Alexa and Randy. So,
but like throughout the night, they built that match.
They did. You know, and Alexa was a huge thing, and we knew we were building to Alexa and what's going on. So, so there was a little slight uptick there. Very, very small, but hey, it's an up.
Fuck that. It's amazing. Congratulations, girls. Good shit.
And Monday we talked about how they announced WrestleMania is going to be 2 nights again this year. It was 2 nights last year when they did the No Fans at Performance Center. This year it's 2 nights. They're going to do Raymond James Stadium as they had attended to in 2020. And we're hearing that they are in fact going to do fans, which we kind of figured when they said they're going to do the stadium. Yeah, well, it wasn't, but when they announced WrestleMania, when they announced these dates, they never said anything about fans. We just kind of you figured they would not be paying for the rental of the stadium unless they're going to have fans.
So, and before people start shitting on my home state of Florida, right? Because I know they're going, of course, Florida has everything open and people can go to a stadium and watch sports. I will point out today, Governor DeSantis had announced that the state of Florida has given out the most vaccines to ages 65 and over in our country. So,
that is true. So, WrestleVotes, a Twitter account that you know, we don't know who's behind it, but he or she has had a great track record of success to the point of accuracy, I should say, to the point of where we are willing to cite this person as a source.
Yeah. What is it?
WrestleVotes had tweeted and talked about that what he or she is hearing is that reportedly the plan is for each night about 25,000 fans each night to attend. And
I was going to guess 15,000, honestly.
I was too, because I think the Tampa Bay Bucks have like 14 or 15 now for games.
Yes.
And then you figure though, when you put the set in the ring and stuff, but then again, I guess they have floor seats on the field. So, all right, so 25,000. Yeah, 25,000.
No, that's a good point. They're able to put more seats out, to be fair, which means they're able to social distance more too. To be fair, yeah.
So he's saying, or it's saying, I don't know if it's he or she. It's saying 25,000. But they also go on to say that like while having fans for Raymond James Stadium or WrestleMania is pretty kind of cut and dry, you know, in terms of social distance, whatever. The real question internally right now is, okay, once we bring the fans back for that event, what happens the next night? Because they are on a time crunch with how long they can be at Tropicana Field for the Thunderdome now, because baseball is looking to start back up in the spring. So that would bump them out. I think
they start. I think that writes itself, because what you just said, baseball coming back, fans coming back as well to watch those sporting events too.
Right.
Yeah, I think it takes care of itself a little bit, right? I think wrestling just follows that trend on a small level.
Well, it does, but the question, Matt, is, and WrestleVotes notes this, that people internally are looking at WrestleMania as kind of a soft reopening, but the question then becomes, right now, or the last year, you've had the luxury of having, you know, PC, Amway Center, now Tropicana as like your residency. Now it becomes,
they're going to find another one. They're going to find another one here in Florida, I bet.
Yeah, it's a matter of finding that, or if they do want to try to travel a little bit, is that possible to pull off?
Is it maybe? I would say Florida. It makes more sense economically for them as well, just to chill in Florida a little bit longer. If not, it's got to be a state like Florida. Is Texas open or no?
Well, somewhat. I mean, that's what they're doing mainly the following year. They're
open.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, you know, Florida worked out so great for them to rotate around from PC to Amway Center to Tropicana, because so much of basically Stanford is 1A. Orlando's 1B. Their second headquarters are they have so much of the talent.
That's why I think they'll stay. That's why I think they'll find another spot here for just a little bit until they go back touring. But
where?
Is there a possibility they go back to the PC? I mean, are we?
Justin, there's a million places. There's a million places they could do this at.
But factor in that these sports are all coming back. So where?
Coming back.
What
They do them on. What do you mean? They just simply do them on nights that the sports teams aren't going to be there.
But if there's no. But if they're going to go back to a residency, and I don't, if as long as they're doing a residency in one location, I don't know if they're going to sell a ton of tickets because I don't know. Like, so if they go back to residency and they go back to the Thunderdome, you can't be tearing that down every night. You have to be at a place that you own. You can't be go for a while. You can't.
No, bro. They're going to be letting fans in. I would say at that point.
Okay.
I do. And I know what you're saying. Why would they keep going back to the same damn place? Right? It'd be the same fans. You would think. You could be right. I don't have the answer to that, honestly.
Well, hey, the same fans worked out for ECW in Philadelphia for the first couple of years, so maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all the news we got. We've been going for what, an hour and a half now, so good podcast for everybody. Let's do our final thoughts. Matt, final thoughts, plug, promote, shill it all away.
Nothing to shill, nothing to promote. Want to promote the fans. Thanks for joining me and Glenn on our podcast after Monday Night Raw the other night. We'll be doing it again this upcoming Monday. It's uncooked, uncensored. I'm joking. Doing the Macho Man plug from Raw back in the day. It was fun though, a lot of fun. It's free. You don't have to pay money to chat with us. Everybody makes an actual verbal recording of their question, and it gets played on the air. And it's something different. I like it. Me and Glenn have fun on the air. And if we can have 3 or 4, we'd be doing it with you guys as well. You only have 2 people on at a time. That's the only downside of it, I would say. But we had a great first night. Thank you to all the fans that made it very successful. Me and Glenn were like, our show was like the top 3, I think, when we first aired it rather. So thank you guys, because y'all are the ones that made that happen. Thank you guys.
That's awesome. Just follow me on Twitter at This Is Nasty. Read my articles on Forbes and watch my pro wrestling YouTube channel, Pro Wrestling Bits. And Justin, I have to say, I have heard you on Busted Open on my drive to work on Fridays. It's really good on that show. I really like this stuff.
Oh, thank you.
I want to listen. That's a great. I love that damn entire network. I just never get to listen to it anymore. Send me some.
Well, cheap plug. You can listen live if you're available at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Fridays when I'm on, or if you have the SiriusXM app, you can download on demand and listen to it whenever you'd like to. So
most people have that app, especially fantasy football players. That's how.
They won me 2 leagues this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So download the SiriusXM app and just search for the Fight channel 156, and you can just download the app. You can just get the episode and
Justin,
just track forward.
Text me it if you don't mind, if you can, cut and paste it.
Yeah, for sure.
No, a couple of your last episodes. I want to support you, man. You're good.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so tomorrow afternoon will be on the Wrestling Daily with Nick Nalisman. Friday morning, I'm on with Mark Henry and Dave LaGreca. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, of course, Wrestling Inc., as we have tons of content coming on with our post-show podcast with all kinds of other newsworthy video snippets. Coming up on Royal Rumble, it's going to be a big Sunday show. I don't know who's going to be on it yet, but I'm sure it'll be some combination of the group here. A lot of good stuff. Thank you very much for the super chats. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the hearts. Everybody be safe. Love one another. We'll be back next Wednesday, this trio, for our Wednesday night talkings about. Be safe. Take care.